All right, everyone, welcome back from post-lunch session. Now let's start. Uh, we have planned for two activities right now. One is the tutorial 3, which will be starting shortly. Uh, Today, we are going to give you some idea for the softwares which can be utilized to analyze the complex proteomics data sets. We have already given you some session, at least some idea that how it can be done in the previous pre-camp session, but we now want you to do certain things along with us. So that will be one activity which we'll be doing. And second thing is that we want to also utilize the opportunity to interact with Dr. Om Srivastav, who could not join that time. So he will be joining us as soon as he can manage some time from his clinic. And during that time, we can take a short interruption from the tutorial. So let's start the tutorial 3 now. So I request from my team, Dr. Kruti, if you are there, and Deep, if you are there, could we start the instructions? I think there are several links has been already shared for the participants. Please download these files and be ready for these contents anyways from all of you. All right. So Kruti, you want to take over now?
Yes, sir. So Nijar will start the session for mascot analysis now. So Nijar, are you here?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yes, I'm audible. Are the input files already shared?
So right. So Vishwa has shared, I think, all the files, right?
Yeah, all the chat is there. All the files are there. Just for all the participants, we spoke to you that there could be different type of mass spectrometer configurations. It could be hybrid mass spec. It could be tribrid mass spec. Idea is a different type of mass analyzer which can do MSMS fragmentation, based on which you get these kind of M by Z values, and you're going to look for the fragmentation pattern of B and Y ions, which could be utilized to obtain the amino acid sequence followed by peptide sequence. There is a software open access known as Mascot. Nirjar is going to take you first the basic of this particular software, and we would want you to analyze this data yourself. So while proteomics may sound very complex thing for at your age in high school, but what we really want you to make and feel comfortable that even you can do this kind of analysis easily yourself. So please just follow these quick instructions, and I think we will be able to start this hands-on session. So Nirja, now you can take over.
Okay, sir. Just a minute. Okay. I guess this is visible, my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as I've already shared in the chat box, the website is matrixscience.com. If you just go there, you'll find this. So there are several searches. It's Matrix Science Mascot is basically a database search engine, just like we do searches in our Google and all. What do we do there? We give just the inputs, our queries, and they from their database they search and give us the possible results. Right? There aren't a single result. There are multiple results. What Google thinks that we might be asking for. So similarly here, there are three kinds: peptide mass fingerprinting, sequence query, and MSMS hand search. So here we are mainly going to talk about peptide mass fingerprinting and MSMS hand search. So peptide mass fingerprint is basically it takes peptide masses and gives back what possible protein it might have come from, right? While MSMS ion search takes tandem MS, that means MS2 data, spectral lists, which is further fragmentation of those peptides that we were talking about in the peptide mass fingerprinting. And then it gives us a far better prediction to what the actual proteins can be. So both of these in this website, if we go to this perform search, in both of the cases, we will have a sort of a form fill up kind of structure like this, where we have to choose what all, when we do searches, when we do advanced searches, we put filters and all. So this is some kind of that only. So this is peptide mass fingerprinting, And when we will go for the MSMS science search, this will look like this. So as somewhat we do have a constraint in time, so let us start with MSMS science search, which is basically almost what we have to do in peptide mass, a little bit more than that. So if we know how to do this, we'll definitely know how to do peptide mass fingerprinting. Okay, so some things to be filled up, which is very basic. Your name, whatever you can give, whatever name you wish to. Email ID. Now this is important. So if you are going to do right now along with us, then please do put your email ID which you want to register it with, and just give a start search. It will go and give you that you are not registered, so you can duly register. So first do that while I am explaining all this. Then you can also click on the necessities.
So
Okay.
actually, the file which has been given to all of you, please download the .mgf file, because that is really going to be important for you to do this analysis. And we really want you to do this analysis. So please take your time. If you want, we can be a little slow, but do these steps along with us, because we do want you to see the results and do the analysis yourself, right? So Nirja, please keep giving them time so that they're also doing this step with us.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Nobody has to register at Mascot. Just you have to put your valid email ID. If it asks for, you have to just go and check your email ID, and you can just click or activate a link.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So search title, again, you can give anything. Let us say test 2, because anything you can give. Okay. So shall I start explaining the actual parts?
Yeah, you can start with the field and make it slightly bigger. Can you zoom into your window?
I'll try. Is it okay now? Yeah, okay. Okay. So first up that they are asking is the databases, right? So just like as I mentioned that any search engine requires a database from where it will search. So if you have a curated database, like you know what kind of sample you are dealing with, then you can give particular of that samples curated database. Just like if you're working on SARS-CoV-2, you know that this is a protein from SARS-CoV-2, but you don't know what it is. So you can definitely give the database of SARS-CoV-2. But in case you don't know, in case this is a totally new protein to you or unknown protein to you, you can definitely give the SwissProt, which is in general all protein database, a curated one, SwissProt. That's why we generally prefer SwissProt, because it will have only the curated and checked correct databases. So that's it. And contaminants we also do enter, we do prefer to enter, because we, no matter how much accurate we try to do our protein extraction and all, still some or the other, maybe our hair, maybe something dust, maybe any other contaminants might be present, which might come out to be like the search engine might say that that is your protein. So you don't want those to come, because you know that's not your target. So that's why we generally put contaminants database as well. Okay. So contaminants is there for them to exclude them, not to include them. Okay. So again, taxonomy, you definitely can put which species or which taxonomical sample this is, if you know. In case you don't know, it's better to put it all entries, so that it will keep its search on through all the taxonomical categories. Okay. Next up is enzyme. So it would definitely be up to you which enzyme you have used to digest the proteins. In this case, we have used trypsin, so we are giving trypsin. Okay, so the next is missed cleavage. So trypsin does digest the proteins into peptides, but sometimes there can be missing in those cleaving the proteins, cleaving into peptides. So if you are sure about your experimental procedure that there won't be any, you can go up to the stringencies of 0, means you are not allowing any miscleavage, because you know there won't be any miscleavage. But generally we don't do that kind of stringency. Let us go up to 2 miscleavages we are allowing. But it's again, it's up to your experimental planning. Next up is quantitation. So if you know what kind of quantitation you have done, so iTrack, TMT, or normal LFQ, you can put in there. But for the general purpose, we are not putting any details of that. So is the cross-linking. If you know this any sort of, if this is a special protein that you know of, then you can put also. But in this scenario, we are not making it more complex. Okay, so now the two important things which should be put is the fixed and the variable modifications. So what are these modifications? So amino acids do get modified for various reasons. One of this is our experimental reasons. So whatever we have done with the protein, that might end up giving some modifications. Carbidomethyl at the C terminal is one of that. So we just have to select here and go to put in this left side. So it will enter here. So carbidomethylation happens due to the reduction and alkylation steps. So it would be there throughout the sample. So that is why it is taken as a fixed modification. And another category of modification is variable modifications, which may or may not be there, but you are still including it for the simplicity or improvement of the results. So one like that is oxidation of methionine. Again, selecting from here, and as we are going to put it in the variable modifications, so clicking over here. So this came into our form. This is some sort of form fill up. So this is a form fill up. Okay. Okay. After that, there are many other points which you may or may not, if you know, then only you should. Otherwise, you should keep it as default as it is. Peptide charge, if you know what kind of charge you have applied while doing the, the ionization of your sample. Same goes for peptide tolerance, monoisotopic or average mass you are going to consider. That is also generally we do monoisotopic, and the same goes for MSMS tolerance and peptide tolerance, as I already mentioned. Okay, so these are far more specifics. It depends upon, it's a more experimental design based point. So we are just, as of now, keeping it some default. Okay, again, so the next thing is choosing the data file. So this is MSMS ion search. It takes spectral data, tandem, mass spec, spectral data. So the preferable data format is .mgf, which is basically also a text format, but its name is .mgf. So we have to choose it. It's simple directory choosing. And from here, this is the .mgf file, which we are going to choose. Okay, so data format, if we have specifically given any separate data format, then we have to choose that. Otherwise, it's mascot generic data. And precursor, again, if you know it's a known sample or something like that, you can put the precursor. Otherwise, we don't. Again, instrument, if you know the instrument which you have done it with, you can put it. Otherwise, it's okay if you don't. So the next step is if you are doing or not doing the decoy database. So generally we do. The reason is that sometimes the sequences might be end up getting reversed or something like that. So to not accept those reverse sequences, we generally put the decoy so that the search engine won't consider reversed sequences or something like that. So it's some sort of the similar way we do integrate contaminants. So it's some sort of similar in some sense. So the rest are all in the defaults. If you are done, we can move on to start search.
Actually, you can just, go through each field once more quickly.
Okay.
So that everybody is selecting it right.
Okay, I'll do it once more for you.
And I think all of the people should have the data file, MGF file in the Google Drive link, which Akanksha has shared just now.
Yes. Okay, so going on once again, the name, title, and email ID, there's nothing to discuss about. You can do anything except the email ID. You have to do the one that is sort of registered. It's not like totally registered, but yeah, okay. It's linked to the mascot. The next is database. As I already mentioned, you should put a contaminants database so as to rule out any contaminants like, skin cells or some hair cells or something like that, the proteins of that, so that it doesn't take that as your ideal search protein, which is, that it is not. You're not going to find your keratin protein or something like that. Okay. And then we do put a database let's say SwissProt, because it is a broad and general database, curated also. But again, if you have a curated database of your own, you can put that as well. Taxonomy is also like that. You can keep it all entries, a broad one. But if you know that this is the specimen that you're putting, the protein that you're trying to find is from a sample that comes from a particular category, if not a particular species. If you know that this is a bovine sample, you can directly go through the taxonomical categories and enter that this is a bovine sample. If not, maybe you know that this is just a mammal sample. That's all you can say. That's all you have been told. You can put that. Or if it is nothing has been told, you can simply say all entries. That's it. Nothing to worry about. Enzyme, rather, you have to mention, because the database and the search results will depend upon what enzyme you have digested it with. So generally, we cannot put it into any default or something. You have to know what enzyme you have used to digest your proteins. Miscleavage, it will depend upon how much confident you are with your protocol and your peptides, protein digestion into peptides. So generally we put into 2, which is sort of a okay stringency. But if you are very, very confident with your data, you can go up to 1 or even 0. That means the most stringent. We are not allowing any miscleavage. What is miscleavage? Once again, so the trypsin digests the protein into peptides. So it would cut at specific sites. So what if it misses some sites? So that is missed cleavage. So if it is missing 2 miscleavage, we can still allow that data. Okay, but if according to this selection that we are allowing 2 miscleavages, but not more than that. But if you're very sure that your protocol won't have any miscleavage at all, you can go and choose up to 0, which means it's very, very stringent. Okay, so quantitation and cross-linking, these are also, again, quantitation is the procedure that the protocol that you do. You can choose it if you know what you have done, or you cannot. That's up to you. Cross-linking is also similar, that if you know if there is a specific sort of cross-linking in your product, you can choose, otherwise not. The next 2 things that I mentioned, again, I'm mentioning, which you should include, is the modifications. So fixed modifications are those that comes from that definitely comes from due to the experimental procedure of yours. So in our procedure, carbidomethylation in the C happens because of the reduction and alkylation procedure that we do while preparing the protein sample. So that's why it enters into the fixed modification. If you have made some more changes, and if some more changes are supposed to come due to your protocol, maybe any of these variations that are mentioned here, modifications, you should also include that in the fixed modifications. But if it is something that may or may not be there, you are not sure that it is throughout, but it may or may not be there, you can put that in your variable modifications, like what we are going to put, oxidation of methionine. So we cannot be too much stringent on this, neither can we too much loose on this. So this to the modification step, we have to be sure of, and then we have to put. But we have to put if it is there, otherwise it might be ending up getting wrong results. Just as similarly, the enzyme part, we also have to be sure about it and put the correct one. That's it. Okay, so other than that, peptide tolerance and MSMS tolerance, that's also dependent on your experimental approach. You can keep it as default. Same goes for the peptide charge. You will know that easily once you have done the protocol in your MS, what kind of charge, is it a positive charge, is it a negative charge, if it is both, or if it is a specific that you're only taking the +2 charges, ion charges, you can put accordingly. For now, just for the sake, we are keeping +2. Then obviously, probably the most important step, that is inputting the data file for that matter. So we are doing the MSMS and such, it takes any sort of text format, but preferably MGF files. And the data that it takes, it's spectral file, that is from the tandem mass spec. So MS1, MS2. So after the MS2, we receive a spectral list of the particular sample that we have given. So for a note, if you haven't already guessed it, so here we are putting preferably a purified samples results, right? If there are multiple proteins and you're giving a mixture of peptides for them, obviously the database will give you wrong results. So if you are inputting sort of purified protein, but you don't know what that protein is, obviously, right? You know that this is a BSA sample, you're giving it for just to know that this is BS sample, that doesn't generally happen. So somewhere uncertainty is there, the what kind of protein or what protein that you have extracted, that you have isolated might be, then only we do these kind of experiments. So this is pretty basic in that terms, but neither way. So data format, if it's something different, you can put, otherwise mascot generic is okay. Precursor, again, if you know precursor, then only, otherwise don't. Instrument, again, if you know what instrument you have used, then you can give. And we generally do put decoy. We do generally check decoy because it, again, just similar, some sort of similar to what we do with contaminants. We want to rule out the contaminants. So here we want to rule out the reverse sequences that may or may not be present in our samples. So the database will curate itself according to that. So, and then obviously start search. So I have already done that search just a second ago. So it might or might not look like this. I mean, obviously, if you have given all the options that I have given, it will look like this. So what does this mean? Have everyone come to this page by now? Anyone else left? Can other TAs let me know if I should go on?
Yeah, in the chat looks like most people are saying yes, which is good. But
Okay.
I think you can give a couple of, maybe a minute or so more.
Okay.
And also, I think you can emphasize that even if people don't get this kind of result, then still there's a need to play with the parameters, right? And that's why
Yes.
those default is always to start with, but depending on the taxonomy used, depending on the condition of experiments being used, one can always play with the conditions and try to see that can you get now, slightly improved result.
Exactly. As sir already mentioned, it's about improving the results. So we keep the defaults because we want to keep all the options, but if no results are coming, we have to tweak with the parameters. We have to select the correct parameter of the option in that form so as to get actually an accurate result. So we have to put in all the data that we know, right? Just for now, we didn't put all those instrument or some other things that we just kept it to general. But in case you know that, you should put that. That's as simple as that. So that would increase the specificity and the result, basically the prediction. It will improve the results. So you'll get the correct answer, as to say. Okay. I guess by now all are in this page. So what, just at this page, at the start of this results, what it's showing that it is showing you 3 protein hits. Okay. So 3 protein hits, what does that mean? That it thinks that these 3 can be the protein. Probably these 3 can be the protein with respect to what it is saying, that the spectral list, which is basically the fragmented data of your peptides, of your protein that you have given, that you have fed into the search engine. So it thinks it can be tubulin alpha 3 of Arabidopsis thaliana, or it could be tubulin alpha chain of Euplotus vanus, or it could be some FAM10 family protein of Arabidopsis thaliana. So as of now that we can see, it's some sort of a plant protein, right? So that's what the search engine thinks. Again, let's look at this beautiful looking bar graph. What does this mean? So this green shady part, it is the threshold. So anything above that, I mean, beyond this limit is the accepted results. So there is some sort of score that is determined by the match, how much it has matched with your input versus the database that you're looking. So basically you have given up spectral list. It matches with that with tubulin alpha Arabidopsis, and it is giving a score of so and so, more than 300 something. We will get to the score later on. And similarly, from these 2 proteins, it gets somewhere around 150 or 130. So that matching gives us a score. And what does that score depend upon? It depends upon the length of the peptide that matched, as well as the number of peptides that match. So both of the parameters actually matters. So that's how it generates a score. We are not obviously going into the actual demography of how the score is obtained. Okay, so let's move into the first protein that it thinks that the most possible the highest scored result basically. So the score is 340, as you can see also in the bar graph, somewhere around 350. So the exact score is 340. The mass that is detects is 50250 Dalton. And so this is the protein ID that you can go and look onto. And these are the peptides, the most matched peptides that it has matched from your data to the database data. So let's just for once check this first peptide. How to do that? There's just below the query, there is a link, okay, for the first peptide in same line with the first peptide. So you can go and open that to see how much of that peptide from the database has matched with your data, okay? So these are the Y ions and B ions that have matched. And exactly how many have matched? This table, you can see that 2 B ions and 7 Y ions have matched, right? And there are several other data like what score and what query against each sequence that has been found. Similarly, again, you can go do for all these top 5 peptide hits that it has found and see how many peptides it has actually matched with. So why do we need to do this? Why do we need to see, look into that? After all, what this is, it's an algorithm based search, right? It would say that tubulin alpha 3 of Arabidopsis thaliana is the highest score. But for some reason, you know that this cannot be, right? Maybe because you know this is not of Arabidopsis thaliana, or maybe the peptides that has hit with the searches, somewhere you find some error is there. Somewhere you find that this cannot happen. So that's why you need to go into the nitty-gritty and the details of it, so as to make sure that, okay, whatever it is saying, most possibly likely that this is the protein, this is the unknown protein that I was searching for. So this is in a very
Nirshir, if I just may add a point here.
yes.
See, so first of all, I think all of you who are doing this analysis and got the result, I think should really feel very excited about it, because most of the time people run the gel, SDS-based gel or 2D gel in the labs and get those bands or a spot which you want to know what that protein is. And now let's say, even if you don't have the mass spectrometers or the instruments in your lab, you have sent it to IIT Bombay or to any other facility in India, and the facility gives you the data back that this is the data file from the instrument. You don't have to rely on anybody to analyze the data for you. You can go to some of these open access tools and just you need the raw data file, .asc file or MGF file, analyze that yourself and try to make sense of the data. Now, why it becomes very important for you to make sense of the data? Because you want to make sure that you are going to put your research and your bet on the right protein. Otherwise, the database might be able to give you some thing which may not be right hit. So, for instance, here, like what Nirshir was mentioning, that you are getting, let's say, multiple hits, and you know that what your sample was. You know what this sample was from, maybe mustard family, something else, but hit is coming from Arabidopsis. But those are quite close taxonomically, right? So that's where then it can still be okay, because Arabidopsis being sequenced, you are getting the much closer similarity with that. But what may happen that sometime that, in this particular example here, the first hit is having 5 peptides. So in the mass spectrometry data, it is also important to consider the data analysis guidelines. Of course, it is too early for all of you to know all the complexities involved, but nevertheless, since this is all database search, right, you are going to know the name of the protein based on the peptides. So if you are only searching the database based on one peptide, that may not be right search, because you might be able to get many proteins which may not be real, which are showing that peptide in multiple proteins. But if you say I'm looking at unique peptide sequence, which is at least more than 2 peptides in a given protein, then I think you have greater than 99% probability that you are talking about one unique protein only. So therefore, now let's say in this case, right now you have 5 peptides or so. So you are quite confident that in a given protein sequence, at least 5 peptides from my data has come here. So those are the real peptides and the protein is quite confident. But sometimes you may get only one hit, one peptide or 2 peptides, and you're not very sure that is that right hit or not. In that case, looking at the fragmentation pattern, looking at the B and Y ions becomes very important, because that gives you confidence. What you see here, if there are sufficient number of red Y ions, which are very intense ions, and you have at least 2 of the B ions in this particular screen, what is shown, that itself is a good example. There will be cases when sometimes you don't have any intense B ions at all, and you have only few 1 or 2 Y ion red, which is that, that is not a good hit. So if you are the one who is going to now decide that, okay, I'm going to take this protein of interest to do my further project investigation in your master's project or bachelor's project, you want to consider this very closely, that is that the right protein or not. If you are happy with the quality of the data, then only you should proceed forward and try to understand the role of the protein and further function of that protein. But if you don't get that, then I think you should not put your bet on that. So that's why looking at this data and some of these small details becomes very important at the beginning stage, which no technician from any facility can do for you. You as a student, if you know this, I think you will be in a good demand to understand the proteomics and mass spec data. All right, over to you, Nirjar.
Okay, so just a few things only left to speak about is that this, what I have shown you is the MSMS ion search. So what all things are different in case of peptide mass fingerprint? You can do exactly that as we have a little bit of time constant. So all this test title and all this, these are all pretty standard. So here also you have to choose a database. Let's choose the Swissprot and all. These are same things, the carbidomethylation fixed modification and the oxidation of methionine as a variable modification. Nothing we are giving as of now. The protein mass, as I already mentioned, these are very specific data. If you know, then only you should put. Now you have to choose. So this takes a .txt format, text file, which takes mass list of the peptides, MYZ list of the peptides of your protein. So preferably in a .txt format. Again, we are doing the decoy, the same things are there. The main difference between MSMS ion search and peptide mass fingerprinting is the type of file that it accepts. So this accepts single image data in .txt format, and MSMS ion search takes spectral list in .mgf format. So if we just search it, giving it a quick search, it will also give a similar result, but the main difference would be you won't be having the details of the peptides that we got in the MSMS answer. So similarly, so here you can see that lower than the threshold value, there are 3, but beyond the threshold value, there is only 1 protein that has hit. Okay. And this number of hits is basically number of peptides that hit it correctly. So this, again, the albumin of bovine albumin, this data is, you can go on and search what actually peptides hit with it. You would probably find 1 or 2 peptides that has hit with it. So let's go and have a look at it. Yes. So these are the matched regions that are seen in bold red. These are the peptides that, oh, okay. So not exactly peptides that are 1 and 2, but these are the peptides that has matched with it. So as you can see that the score is not that very good as it comes in the MSMS ion search, because it has been given spectral list data, which is even more specific, even more rich data in that sense. But while the peptide mass fingerprinting is very basic, just mass list of the peptides. So that's why it gives a very lower chance of getting a correct result. But then again, if this is the thing that you need to do, it's far quick, and obviously both in experimentally and also in this results also. So this is just the basic difference between MSMS ion search and peptide mass fingerprinting, the type of data and the format of the data, and obviously the accuracy. That's it. Sir, I think I'm done from my side.
All right, yeah. So I think, the PMF becomes only interesting if you are trying to purify a protein, want to know the mass of that particular compound or protein. Otherwise, for knowing the sequence of it, you have to do MSMS only. So it's good to know both, but MSMS is what is required for any publication or any research-based work. All right, I think, Kruti, you can take over further.
Yes, so Nirjar, thank you for the session. So next, I think, Deep will explain you about the metaboanalyst and the reactome. So Deep, you can start.
Yeah, so while Deep is getting ready, just to talk to the participants here. So Mascot is essentially the open access one, which can be used for some of the very basic data set, right? But what we are talking is a very complex proteome data set. For example, the cancer sample, the tumor tissue, thousands of protein, 4,000 proteins are there minimum. So then if you want to analyze those kind of data set, it's a good idea for you to explore using the MaxQuant software, which is another open access software. Right now, we are not teaching you that. Again, if you'll be interested to learn further, we can do that later on. But right now, we have just given you one basic software idea, which can be used for purified protein or the simple mixture of the protein, which can be easily identified, where you have only few proteins there. Whereas if you will have, let's say, a large number of protein, then better to analyze either using commercial softwares if you have any facility, or open access MaxQuant is a good software. Irrespective of the software, what you generate after, from the mass spec data file, you have analyzed that data and now you know these are set of proteins there. But what could be the expression of these protein? What could be, relevance of these protein in a disease context? That is yet to be determined, right? And that's where the secondary data analysis becomes very important. And now Deep is going to show you the MetaboAnalyst software, which is made by Dr. David Wishart and his team from University of Alberta. It just happened that I did my PhD from University of Alberta, and I have good feel for these labs and these places. This is very user-friendly software, very nice software, MetaboAnalyst, primarily meant for the metabolomics analysis, but also you can utilize and overcome some limitation by playing with some parameter and use that for the proteomics data as well. So we heavily use that, and large number of users are using it. You will yourself appreciate that how easy it is to use it. Now today, I think we have given you some gist of it or glimpse of it last time as well. Today we want you to do it, along with us. Please take your time. We are not in rush. We would like you to do it so that at the end of the session, you are saving your own protein hit. You are saving your own heat maps. You are saving your own, PCA and PLSDA plots. Make a PPT, make a PowerPoint at the end of the session of the summer camp. You yourself think about how far you have reached, how advanced you have gone through now in understanding these stuff, right? So my part is essentially just overview. So now the actual session is going to start now. Deep is going to talk to you about MetaboAnalyst, which is essentially going to visualize your data for looking at in the disease context, right? All right, go ahead. Deep, over to you.
Yeah, so am I audible and my screen is visible, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So as Professor Sanjeeva told that now the next part is to understand the data, right? So in a very simple word, just tell me that what data is. For example, you have, a basket of apple. So that means that particular basket is having 100 apples. So this 100 is something, a quantity, right? So this quantity is data. So it can be so simple. And again, it can be large, like, for example, a particular city has this many number of people. So this many number of people is the data, right? For example, 1 million people, 10 lakh people, 15 lakh people. So this is data. And how to make this data more complex? In this 15 lakh people, 60% are male, 40% are female. So this is now again the feature of the data, right? So the data start from even a small number to a large number, and the data is right now the data is something which is present in everywhere. So as you have seen in the COVID, that whatever the statistics, whatever the graph, whatever everything you are looking are on the basis of some number, and it has been visualized in the form of some graph. So that means data, from data you are trying to interpret it and you are visualizing it. So the whole thing is known as data visualization, right? So today we will try to talk about a very simple file which is having 3 tumor, 3 controls. So that means 3 patients with some disease and 3 patients which are normal, which has no diseases. And these are the proteins. As you can see, these UniProt IDs are the proteins, and this is the, in a simple word, this is the quantity of this protein in each of this particular subject. That means if I take it in a simple way, let me just show you in a simple way. Yeah, so that means, for example, this particular, yeah, so see, for this particular maybe disease, the quantity is 7.8, 8.1. However, for this particular in control, this is 7.7, 8.2, 8.61. So this is a small quantity. That means the protein, how much like the quantity of the protein is present, right? So now, for example, I have just shown you for only one protein. Now, for example, we have to see for all these proteins, right? Which is 20 to 106. So we cannot see all these proteins like with the help of our eyes, right? We need to go for some analysis. So what we will do is that I've already shared you the link of this particular software, which is MetaboAnalysis. If you click in this particular software, you will find this web page. And if you're clicking over here, click here to start, you will go to the next interface where you will find that there are multiple options are there. Yeah, so as you can see, there are multiple options are there. Today we will only talk about statistical analysis. So statistical analysis is something which will help you to understand whether whatever interpretation you are having from your data or whatever the analysis you have done, is confident or not. Whether you are confident about this particular analysis or not this statistical analysis will help you to understand, right? So for that, the first thing is that you should have that file. So I have already, Vishwa has already shared the file with you. So we will try to see and understand this data in respect to disease versus control. That's it, nothing else, right? So what we will do, we will click over here, peak intensity table. So this peak intensity is something that for particular one protein, what is the intensity, right? That means what is the quantity. And over here, the format, we will choose sample in column unpaired. So what is sample in column means each particular patient is a sample. So, and these particular samples are present in column. As you can see, this is present in column B, column C, column D. So that is why it is present. We will choose sample in columns. And after that, we will choose the file. So wherever you have downloaded your file, you can go and choose. So let me go to, right. So once you are choosing this file, you will see that over here, copy of paste, that what is the name of the file, it will come. So now these three options should be, you should follow right now, and you should not miss this. Otherwise it will give an error, right? So so I'm assuming that everyone like all of you have reached to this step, and after that we'll click over here, submit. So once we will click submit, yeah, so it is giving you some information, right? Most of the information any one of you can understand. For example, maybe for the first one, the samples are in column and features in rows. So features are nothing but this particular protein, it is telling features. So feature is a general term for any anything, any subject. For example, if you have a basket of fruits, banana, apple, like watermelon, all these are features, each feature. So like this, this is the UniProt ID. All these protein names are each features, right? So as you can see, that is the reason, because the data file contains 6 samples, which is the features, and features in row, and samples are in column. So now the uploaded data will contain 6 samples. As you can see, there are total 6 samples are there, and 22004 peaks by M by Z. So these are nothing but 22004 proteins are there. That is the thing it is telling. Obviously, 2 groups are there. 2 groups means one is disease or one is tumor, another is control, as you can see. There are some other information that is not much relevant. Then non-numerical value were founded and replaced by A. So if there is any non-numerical value, it is so 191 feature with a constant single value and across the sample have been deleted. So this must be, there are some proteins which has no value, has been deleted, and a total of 2209 missing proteins with missing values. So what are these missing values are actually? So these are, we can say these are technical problem. For example, if you are, maybe you are taking some reading, any reading, it will happen that there is a technical or a biological variability will be there. For that reason, the value has not come. So as you can see, right? It can be, it even happens with even in human also, right? If a person asks any person to, you know, count the number of fruit present in a tree, one person might miss few. So something like that, try to understand, let's try to understand in a basic way. So something like that, it's happened. That means this particular proteins has no missing, no values over here. These are 0, right? So the next thing is that we cannot go ahead with any statistical analysis with missing values. So we now have to, you know, include the missing values over here. And how we are, so for that, please click on the missing values part over here. And how we are doing that. So over there, we are trying to, we need to be sure that whatever missing values we are putting, for example, over here, their missing value should be correct missing value. It should not happen that in all this data, for example, in 97, all this data is not present, and on the basis of that, we are putting all this data. So that should not happen, because it might happen this particular one data is false, right, or not correct. So that is why we are putting at least 50%, features data should be there. That means this particular protein is having more than 50% data, right? Out of 3/4 data is there. That is if this can be taken ahead, and from these 4 samples, we can put here 2 samples, right? 2 data. So that means we are trying to replicate or trying to, you know, take the other data of the particular protein, and we are trying to put it in this rows. So we are trying to make sure that most of the proteins which are having missing value, we keep those proteins, and we take it forward. So over here, we are using estimate missing value using KNN. You can use anything, whatever you want, but mostly people use median over there, median missing values, and KNN. So KNN is an algorithm, and it actually, what it does is that it try to take some feature information from this others data and try to incorporate over here. That's it. Nothing very difficult. And then we will try to click here process. So once we are clicking process, and this particular step we don't need. So what you can do, we can put over here as proceed. We will not select anything. So I think all of you have reached till this, right? Till this part, all of you have reached. So let's see the chats. Okay, so let me assume that all of you have reached till this step. So now what we need to do is that we need to see, for example, if you want to compare 2 things, you need to understand that those 2 things are at least having same without any variability, right? So for that particular thing, what we will do a normalization over here. So normalization is something that tries to decrease the technical variability present in the data. So for anything you use, right? For example, if you are using any instrument, there will be one technicality will be there. That means the particular instrument today it is giving some result, tomorrow it might give a different result. And there are multiple terms of their calibration and all these things that we do. I will not go into that deep, but we need to make sure that the data that we have generated of these 6 samples are normalized. That means the central tendency of this data, which is mean, median, should follow the same central tendency through that throughout. Then only we can compare 2 proteins, compare 1 proteins in control versus disease, right? So I will request all of you that select normalization by median and log transformation, and click normalize over here and view result, and come to sample view. So now see, these are each sample. So these 3 are tumor, these 3 are control, and now it is showing the same central tendency throughout. That means now if one protein is present in this box plot anywhere, now we can compare this particular protein of one sample with the other sample, or one sample group with the other sample group, without having any technical variability. So this part is very important, and this part is not at all difficult to understand. right? If, for example, if this particular normalization, let me show you without normalization, then you will understand. So for example, if you see now there the particular data is not, when the data is not normalized, obviously there is a chance of when you're comparing, there the comparison could be biased. That means if the particular this lower box you can see, if you're comparing this with the first one, obviously there is a overall increase or overall skewness of this particular sample. Then you cannot compare. If you are comparing also, whatever proteins you are getting statistical significant will not be statistical significant. It will have some biasness, right? So that is the reason we are doing a normalization, and in most of the cases we do a normalization by median and followed by a log transformation, because these are all exponential data. We are trying to decrease this data. The same thing I showed you guys over here, that all this data, if we need to show in and understand, normalize, then we have somehow decreased the data, right? That is the reason I have did the log transformation to see the data. So once we are doing this and we have normalized it, and we can see the result is completely normalized, we can go ahead with the data. Yeah. So now we can proceed. So now the next thing is that we can see this data visually. So till now, what we were trying to do is that, so for example, if someone tells you to tell you regarding this data in a single figure or a single picture, you cannot tell, right, from this data, because you have to see each data to understand what this particular protein is doing. But over here now we can do that. How? So the first thing is that let me show the heat map first. Then we can understand that what this particular data. So now if you see this particular heat map, you can see the whole data in a single picture. So that is what data visualization is. So from here, from this data, now you are seeing this whole data over here in a heat map. So this is data visualization. And these are the 3 controls, these are the 3 tumor. So have all of you reach till heat map. If not, take time until reach till heat map, then we can go ahead. If anyone is having any issue in the feature view, we have to consider after normalization. Okay. So in normalization, let me go back. In normalization, click over here, normalization by median, click over here, log transformation, click normalize, and then click proceed over here. Here is the proceed button, click proceed over here. And once you are proceeding, you will get a number of, features over here, options over here. Over there, you will find heat map. Okay, once you are getting this heat map, you are clicking this heat map, then it will automatically generate you a heat map, right? Great. So now once you are getting this heat map, so first of all, why this particular the name of this map is heat map is that the first thing is that it will give an idea of any features in terms of the groups, right? And as if we go to the the color, and we will click over here. So see, from this actually the name heat map came, where the color on the basis of the coloration from yellow to orange. After that, with time there are multiple colors have came, but this is why this is known as the heat map, and it will give you an idea that what is the differences in terms of proteins. So as it is giving an idea of the all the proteins, we are not able to actually understand. So now what we will do, we will try to play with the parameters, and obviously you can do it from your end. But let's try to fix some parameters. So whatever the default parameters are there, you try to keep the same. Okay. But we will over here, we will try to see the use top 25 features. So that means the heat map will choose top 25 feature based on the statistical interpretation. And it will try to show how this top 25 features are actually looking. So now see. Now, once we are getting the top 25 features, you can see there's a clear difference between the control and tumor. So that means these particular proteins, whatever it is there, these particular proteins are having a very high expression in tumor, low expression in tumor, wherever high expression in control, right? So this particular protein is surely having some biological interpretation, and why the tumor or the disease is happening. These particular proteins are having some idea. right? And if you can go there and you can click the different color also, and you will understand more in a better way that how this with the help of the color. So over here, green is low expression, red is high expression. Same it comes in the down, it is vice versa, right? So heat map is something which will give you an understanding of your whole data, and from this whole data you are now seeing top 25. Even you can go and even decrease it. For example, if you just want to see top 50, people who know about Western blot, they can even go to top 5, and then they can check that out of these top 5, you know, these are the top 5 proteins for your people who know Western blot. They can go now check that what are the antibodies available, whether these particular proteins are having any biological sense or not, and we can be taken forward for further validation using Western blot, right? So you can play among with this, and for downloading any of this figure, you can go to, you have to click over here. You can go to the high resolution image, and you can select whether you want PNG, PDF, anything, and you can submit it. So once you are submit, and you can save this, like you can open it. See, this is over here also. You can save image on the save image as, and you can, you know, save it wherever you want, right? Heat maps, you can give the name and you can save it. So this is so simple. You can see now from one data you are generating the heat map, and the heat map you can save it. So this is one thing I showed, and I hope everyone has reached till this, right? Once we are doing this, so let's go to the next step, which is fold change. So right. So now heat map give you some idea or some understanding.
Deep, I see some interruption in your voice. I don't know. I can't hear you.
That we are trying to see tumor proteins which are having at least 2-fold change. That means it is 2 times. You can it is not completely 2 times, but you can compare with 2 times, right? It is 2 times greater than the protein in tumor is greater than the control. And if we click over here, so as you can see, these are the proteins which are having at least 2 times you know, intensity greater than the control, right? And if I click in each of any of this dot, as you can see, it will give a plot over here, which we generally don't tell us it's a box plot. So box plot is nothing but it gives an idea of each protein. And as you can see, these are these 3 dots. Each dots are those samples. For example, as we have seen that there are control, there are 3 samples, and tumor there are 3 samples. So these 3 samples are there, which is giving an idea. So now let's see that what is volcano plot. So I hope people are following. Is my voice audible?
Better now, Deep. Yeah.
Okay. So now coming to the volcano plot. So now as we have seen the fold change, that means, as I told, that it is sometimes greater than the other one. So now, but that doesn't mean that this particular protein is significant. The significant is something when we have taken maybe three samples, the particular 3 samples should be higher from the other 3 samples. So this should not have the variation between these 3 samples, and this should not have the much variation between these 3 samples. Then only we can tell that this particular protein in tumor is upregulated when we are comparing with the control. Right. So this is something which is known as significance level. Significance level means the particular expression that we are telling is not varying with sample to sample between that group. Right. So now let's try to understand this part also. So over here, the top thing are same as I have shown, that the fold change is 2, and tumor versus control we will see. But over here, what we are doing is a 0.05. We are taking the p-value threshold. So what does this mean? Is that when you are trying to understand that there is no variation between the group, but still you are giving a 5% chance that, okay, if that particular like 95% confidence you are giving and 5% error you are giving, okay, it might happen that in this particular significance level, 5% threshold of error you are giving and 95% confidence you are giving. right? And you are giving 0.05 over here. So other thing, we will put whatever default is there and we will submit over here. And now you see that you have got some are blue color, some are red color, and some are ash color. So this ash color are those proteins which are either not significant or either having fold change less than 2. However, the blue color are the significantly down-regulated. As we have taken tumor versus control, that means down-regulated in tumor. And as we have taken tumor versus control, so this is up-regulated in tumor. So now let's see, take one protein. So the top protein I'm taking and I'm trying to see. So now see, in the last time when I showed on the basis of the fold change, you find the 3 dots are very much varying with each other. But now if you take this particular protein, we will find that this dot of all these of this particular protein in the group are very much near to each other, right? So that is the concept of the, the significance and the t-test, parametric test, all this comes from. I will not go deep into that, but yeah, from there only this particular concept is coming, that this particular protein is not only having a fold change, but is also significant. So now this is a box plot, and for this also you can go, and if you can click in this particular Excel tab like this, and you can see all these particular protein and their fold change and the p-value and all these things is given over here. And if you click each of these, and you can see the box plot over here, right? So over here, that is the normalized data. That means original data. As you can see, the exponential data is there. For example, for example, if I just take this one, and if I am just going to the Excel and I'm just drawing a bar plot. Just one minute. Yeah. So I'm just drawing a bar plot. So the way it is showing over here in the y-axis, as you can see, it has given on the same way. And this is the normalized concentration, means that means the data after normalization and log transformation it is given. So in visualization purpose, we always use the normalized data because it is a small, the data has been already, data munging has been done, and already data we can look the data in a better way, right? So this is how you can see for each protein. You can click each protein over here and you can see, right? For example, the last one was tumor was upregulated, control was down. For this one, control is upregulated, tumor is down, right? So like this, you can play with the software, and then when you, for example, now you want to take all these proteins which are significant and having log fold change, and you can download this data from here. So if you click over here, you can see one Excel sheet is getting downloaded, right? And if I open this Excel sheet, you will find these are the protein names there. Over here, these are the p-values there. And as I have told that till the p-value will be considered till 0.05. If you come down, you will find the last p-value is 0.049. That means it has considered that particular protein which is having the p-value less than 0.05. And this is the fold change. As you can see, log fold change. That means, for example, P1765 is 2.5 fold upregulated in tumor when we are comparing with the control. So, and it is, the next one is minus 3.5 downregulated in tumor when we are comparing with the control. So now this particular data, if we just go to the data and sort it as A to Z. So all these protein, for example, till this, we can see all these particular proteins are downregulated. So 104 proteins, you can see these are downregulated proteins. Wherever all the 95 proteins are upregulated proteins. So from here, you already got the idea which proteins are upregulated and which proteins are downregulated. Now it will be easier for us to take this protein from here and go ahead for understanding the biology, because till now it is telling the data visualization we saw, the data in the form of the technical terms we have some, but we still don't know from which this particular protein belongs to which biological pathway. If this particular protein is increasing or decreasing, what problems or what alteration is coming into the biological pathway, that we don't know, right? So till this part, what we can tell is the data analysis, but I can show you few more things also if you want. So for example, we can see there is another PCE and PLSDA is there. So these are something which will try to give you an idea as a whole, taking the, for example, all these proteins I have shown, right, 2200 proteins, but all this protein will not have the overexpression or underexpression, right? few of the proteins will have overexpression, few of the proteins will have underexpression, whereas few of the protein will have no expression, right? So we need to know that how many of this protein, how much percentage of the proteins are actually having this variation. So over here, the variation means either it is overexpressed or it is underexpressed. So if we go over here and click PC or any PLSDA, you click in the loading plot and you click in the 2D score plot, and you can see that out of this 40.6% and 15.9, which is actually total 65% of the 55% of the protein are actually having variation. That means over here, whatever the 195 proteins you got, all these 195 proteins, the one which you have got after statistical analysis, all these 195 proteins belongs to these 55 proteins only, because those are the most variant proteins, right, which are varying the maximum. So this is the one another which is known as PLSDA. So, and all this data, whatever I showed, you can go here and you can download this data with high resolution. And if you come to the downloads now, if you click into the left hand side in the downloads, and you can see there is a generate report is there, right? So once you are clicking into the generate report and you are clicking it, so whatever you have done till now in the Metabo analysis, you can get all these things in a report version in the analysis report. So let me open this one, and as you can see that first we have done the data normalization, then we have also done the missing value imputation, and all these things you can see the informations are available, like for the control and tumor, how many missing values are there, how many features has been processed. So every information you will get and all the things. So as you will be remember that we have what informations we have gathered. So the log fold change information we have gathered, what are the top upregulated, downregulated protein, right? Then we have also done the volcano plot. As you can see, this is the volcano plot. It has came. Then we have also done some PLSDA. So this is the PLSDA research came, as you can see. So and then we have also done. So these are some other extra plots are there. And we have also done the heat map, right? So this is the heat map we got. So all this information has been given in the form of a report which can directly use and you can refer, right? So now I think this much is enough for you guys, and I will take questions now so that wherever you guys are facing problem, I can help you guys. So can I get you?
Maybe just
so
follow the chat.
Yeah. So I'm trying to follow it. So Avinash, what is the issue you are getting? Because
nothing. Yeah. Just some few students having issue with the Metabo analysis.
Okay, so but I feel that it is working fine. It can be their internet issues. Is there any Avinash? Is there any other like specific questions are there?
No, Deep. There is no specific question in here.
So to all the students, have you guys followed each step? So if you have any issue, just tell me. I can go back and tell you the step once again.
Very briefly, Deep, you can just walk from the beginning till end. Okay. Don't go to the detail of the steps.
Right. So let me go back and try to give you the demo once more. So we are going to the statistical analysis over here, and we will click peak intensity table. We will come into the samples in column unpaired over here. The second option we will come. Then we will choose the file, whatever the file we have, and we will submit it. Okay, so once we have submitted, we are getting the information from here, and we will go to the missing value part, and we will keep 50%. We can use KNN or BDN, anything is fine. And after choosing this one, we will click process over here. So once we are clicking process, just skip this step and just click process. And then over here, the normalization step is there. So over here, we will click normalization by median and log transformation. And we'll click normalization. We can go to the view and see the sample view over here. And then we will go to click the proceed. So once we are clicking the proceed, we will find that there's a lot of informations that are coming in front of your in the screen. And we can do the cluster analysis. We can select heat maps. So I have already talked to you guys that what heat maps are, keeping everything as default. We will click use top 25 and submit. Once we are doing that, we are getting the heat map, right? So like this, you can go to each of these steps and you can select any of the plots over here. So I found that there is one particular question someone asked regarding the normalization step. So as I have already told that once you are getting the data, you click into the normalization by median and log transformation and normalize. So and you can see that this particular sample, if you see this particular thing is normalized. And why we are doing the normalization, as I told, to decrease or to remove the technical variability between the each samples. That's why we are doing the normalization. So is there any other questions?
All right, I think then you can just move on to the pathway analysis part.
Okay. So for example, so both the thing we can do, we can take the data from here and we can go to the Reactome, or otherwise I have already shared one file with you guys.
Let's take from here, whatever data has come out from here.
So what we can do, so we will take this data only. Okay?
In fact, you don't show the result output, let them show the result.
Okay.
So you just walk through the Reactome, how it works. Okay, then ask them whatever they have found the proteins, let them try to do the pathway search, and then they can tell us what pathways they got.
Right. So what you can do, you can take this list of 198 protein, 199 proteins, whatever we got from the when we have downloaded the data from the Volcano plot. Take this data, copy this data, and go to Reactome. Just write Reactome over here. Reactome. Yeah, reactome.org. So just write Reactome. I'm sharing this thing in chat so that. Yeah. So once we are getting into this thing, click analysis tools over here. So once we are clicking into the analysis tool, it will give a query box. Yeah. So this is the query box we are getting, and we just need to paste the we just need to paste the list of the protein here, right? Then we will click continue and we will analyze. So once we are clicking the analyze, we will get the data. And as sir told that you guys need to analyze it and you have to share the data. So you can do that. So you can see it is very simple. I will show you once again. So after opening Reactome, you
can paste just 5 random protein, right? Just so that they know the step.
Okay, fine. So if you click in the analysis tool, and let's take some random protein. Okay, maybe some top 10 proteins I have taken, and we will click here continue. And after clicking continue, click analysis or analyze. So you can see how this particular analysis result is looking. So first is some glutamate neurotransmitter release cycle. So now which protein is now present in this glutamate neurotransmitter release? You can come in the entities found and click in the 2. Can you see, guys? So there is a 2 is there. You can click here, and these are the 2 proteins. So now let's take this particular P43003 and let's search in our Excel sheet. So this is the protein, and this particular protein is having -4.215 down regulation in tumor. That means it is down regulated in tumor when we are comparing with the control. So now this particular data, which is the technical data, has started speaking biology. So on the basis of that, you can go into each particular protein And you can see that how this particular proteins or the pathways are actually coming. And what we can also do, what Reactome is giving us this particular option, that if you click in this particular pathway, glutamate neurotransmitter, so it is giving an idea. So this is a neuronal system. From this neuronal system, this is a transmission across the chemical synapses. So these are all each pathways. All of you will know neuronal system for sure. And if we click in this particular glutamate neurotransmitter, it will give an idea of the whole pathway, as you can see. Can you see that which proteins are binding to which protein? But as an overall view, if I just click into the neuronal system itself, because this is something which is very much specific pathway. And if we just see, so you can see, I think even the students whoever in class 10 and class 12 has seen this picture, right? So this is something which we know, which is known as synapse, right? That means transferring the information, the way the neurotransmission happens, right? So this is the information whatever we got. And you can see, if we are just now talking about neuronal system, so neuronal system has 3 proteins over here. And this particular 3 proteins, so obviously these are some isoforms. Actually, the 2 proteins are there. And out of which 1 protein, I showed that this is a downregulated, it is a downregulation is happening in the tumor. So maybe due to as the tumor growth is happening, there is an effect that is happening even in the neuronal system also. It's just a normal interpretation. It's not something biological I'm telling, but just making you guys understand how to link the data which you don't have any idea. This was the data from where we started. We don't have any idea what is this. We don't have any idea what these numbers are. And finally, we use meta-analysis to understand that how this data is actually giving, how this data is actually looking, what are the proteins are actually significant, is having fold change. And then finally, when we taken those data forward and we have used that particular data as an input file in Reactome, and the data itself started speaking biology, that, okay, this particular protein belongs to this particular pathway, and this particular protein is downregulated in tumor. So like this, you can link from a data, which are technical thing, to a biology using all these simple tools. And you can see how the simple tools are, right? So let me see.
You can now ask participants what pathways they got. They can put the names from today's data set in the chat.
Yeah, so right. So can any one of you just share, paste the pathways that you are getting over here? Even the report is also fine.
Or top 3 pathway names.
Yeah, top 3 pathway, just the name of the top 3 pathway in the chat box. Any one of you. So then we can, match whatever we are getting and whatever you are getting. Then it is really exciting that you guys have already getting the same result, whatever we are getting. Okay, so someone has written, so let me see. Okay, so what HMP pathway? Okay, any other pathways you are getting? I think all of you have taken these 199 proteins, right? Okay, ETC, right? Yes, the TCA cycle is coming. Electron transport chain. Can you just give some more pathway? Yeah, like ETC glycolysis, these pathways are coming. You can, yeah, translation is coming, correct? So now even you can go into the translation. Yeah, if we go down, and we will see there are a lot of pathways are there, even EMOs and all those pathways are also coming. And even you can go into this particular entities found. Yeah, peptide chain elongation is coming in the second one. So yeah, there are a few pathways will be specific, few pathways will be not specific. And if you go into this one entities found, you will see all this particular protein. Yes. So I think so most of the pathways, they are telling a matching with the data. So that means they have followed the steps correctly.
You can mention them now, the report and download.
Yeah. So now finally, once you are getting this data, you can click over here in the download option. As you can see, here is a download option is there at the left hand side, and you can click here, and you can click in the analysis report. In the down one, the first one, the analysis report, and if you click over here, the same way way you got the Metabo analysis report, you will get a Reactome analysis report. So once you are getting this analysis report, let's walk through this thing. So this is also gives you the same thing, whatever we have seen in Metabo analysis, all the things that we have done, all the steps, it has given the steps and also the result. So, and I will also tell you guys to read this part introduction, then you will have more information about how the Reactome is actually working. So as you can see, so this is the top 25 most relevant pathway list they have given. And once you are clicking into each of these pathways, it will redirect you to the Reactome. So as you can see, I have selected the first one. It is redirecting you to the Reactome, the report and the Reactome, right? So now, once we are coming, like going down, you will see that you will get each pathway and the information of the each pathways, right? That means, for example, this is the eukaryotic translation elongation. What is the eukaryotic elongation translation, and what are the information, something regarding the protein, and also the reference of the paper. So all this information you are getting, and also what are the entities found in the pathways of 14, and what are these entities are there, that also it is given. So like this, if you scroll down, you will get a lot of information, lot of interacting figures you will find, which will help you to understand more about the biological pathway. And obviously the list of protein, you can go back into the Excel sheet and you can start checking that whether the particular pathway is having is matching with the biology or not, right? So I think that much is more than enough for the Metabo analyst and Reactome. So, sir, is there anything that I have missed and I need to check?
All right. So, Deep, let me speak to them.
Okay.
What you can do in the meantime, can you be ready to show them HPA, Human Protein Atlas? Just
Okay.
A quick glance of it while I speak
Fine,
to them, right? So, see, I think there are two reasons why you can probably have discrepancy of what you are finding pathways, what your friends are finding, what we are finding, right? First of all, when you have done the Metabo analyst analysis, there were different fields over there, depending on what ways of normalization have you done, what stats have you applied, what was your threshold for the fold changes. You may have got a list which is slightly different than our list, right? So that is one possibility, that you will get, not every person can get the same list. Of course, some people can be very stringent, like, you will say, okay, I want to get everything t-test passed, so p-value less than 0.05 with two-fold change up and down, right? So you will have much shorter list as compared to, or you can be more stringent, okay, p value less than 0.01. Somebody will say, okay, I'll go p value 0.05. Others can say, okay, p value 0.05, but fold change can be 1.5. Each one of these things, what I just said, will make huge difference in terms of number of protein, which will come as a final list in your data sheet. Then you will take that protein accession ID that you are putting in Reactome to find out the pathways. Now, even in Reactome, you can always check whether you are only going with the proteins or also their interactions. So interactions are the one which is known from literature. So for instance, Reactome team does a lot of data curation from the published papers. And for a known protein, if there are experimental evidence that there are some other interactors available, then if you are checking that option, then in the pathways, you will get much more enriched data set. It means like your 50 protein plus a lot of other interactors of those protein will also be added. So these are different considerations, but how to be confident that what you are doing is right? For instance, now when you look at Reactome report, you will see like, okay, for a given pathway, let's say the eukaryotic translation pathway, the first one, you are seeing, okay, 10 proteins from your data set is going to this particular pathway. It may happen that out of the same 10 protein, 9 protein also belong to another type of eukaryotic initiation or some other translation pathway. So it means like, while the names are slightly different, but their functions could be very similar. So now what you can do, look at the pathway wise, also which proteins are going to which pathways, and then you are trying to manually curate this information. Now, after this, no AI and no software and no computer can do the job for you. Then human intelligence, your literature review comes into the play. For this given disease, I have these 10 pathways, which are all p-value less than 0.05. They all look good to me. Now I'm going to look at literature review, trying to find out which pathways are more relevant to my data sets. Also, I'm going to combine some of these data sets to make a much broader list of the pathways, which, let's say, everything linked to translation, you are putting them under one category, and while you will have in your hits at least 4 or 5 pathways which belongs to translation. So all of that now you are clubbing as one pathway. Then another software comes into the play known as Cytoscape, which is essentially visualization tool. Now you can curate these lists, and you want to visualize how you can represent that in the figure form, how best you can display this information, that how you are going to depict that these 4 or 5 pathways are involved in the given disease. So these are all the steps, So I think you don't feel confused that it is not numerical, that everybody started with the same data file is going to get exactly same pathway. But of course, the top 10 pathways will be more or less in all the data set if you have done the steps right. So that's the I hope the broad comments for many doubts which many people may have here. We just take a couple of minutes more here to show the Human Protein Atlas, which is another open access tool available to all of you. Very nice resource. Deep just will browse through it and show you that how well you can use that. Deep, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can go to Google and write Human Protein Atlas. So once you are searching it, the first query is the Human Protein Atlas, which is proteinatlas.org. Click here. So once you are getting it, you will see there are 6 major domains are there in Human Protein Atlas. So this is something is one of the enriched knowledge base that I have seen in proteomics, where the tissue atlas, single cell types atlas, pathology atlas, brain atlas, blood atlas, and cell atlas. So that means one particular protein, for example, any protein, even the proteins you have got now in the tumor versus control, you can take that particular protein and you can see over here. That particular protein is present in which tissue, it gives the information by the tissue atlas. Which tissue means, so let us take a protein from our data only. So the one which is having maximum upregulation fold change, we can take this one. So from my data, I am getting this protein. So from the UniProt ID, I even don't know what is the protein is there, but let's see what information we get for this particular protein. Right. So this particular protein is ribosome binding protein, RRBP1. Yeah, so this is RRBP1, this particular protein, and this is something it is given evidence in protein level. That means this particular protein is having protein level evidence. That means somehow using mass spectrometry, Western blot, you are using any proteomic experiment has found this protein. So we know that that particular protein exists actually in protein level. Now let's go to the tissue atlas. So the tissue atlas gives an idea of this particular protein in different tissue that are present in our body. For example, brain, eye, endocrine tissue, lung, and all this, as you can see, all this information of all the tissues which are available. And this particular bar, as you can see, this is a yellow bar over here. This particular bar is giving an idea, a comparative view from when we are comparing this particular protein with one tissue to another tissue. And this is the RNA expression data, and over this is a protein expression score. So they have given both RNA data also they have given, protein data also they have given, so that we can understand better. So as you can see, this particular protein in brain present in a protein level expression is very high in cerebral cortex. However, if we see in the RNA, we can see this particular protein is present in pancreas. So obviously we are getting this particular protein from the brain samples, though it's a tumor, but it is from the brain samples we know. So that's why this is coming as a high expression in the brain. So, but as we can see, this particular protein is not only exception in the brain. It is not only enriched in brain. So it is also present in other tissues also. So for that particular protein, you can see that what are the regions that this particular protein is already expressing in. or what are the tissues that are available. So now there are other informations also. This is available even the people who wants to take this protein. For example, this is a very good protein we got in the analysis, right? It is having maximum overexpression in the tumor. They can check that this particular protein is also having antibodies. So these particular antibodies are also available, which they can directly click, and even this particular human protein atlas also gives and also helps in recruiting antibodies also. So now let's go to the cell analysis, cell type domain. So what this is giving the idea of this particular protein present in different cell types. So I think let's start with this particular red color bar. So these particular cells you all have, like you have read in your class 10, class 12, even in images, that these are B cell, T cell, granulocyte, macrophages, and all these particular cells we all know, right? And so what is the expression of this particular protein in all these tissue, or all these particular cell types are given. And if we go into the left hand side, you will find all specific cells are coming, right? For example, if you see the Leydig cells, then the other cells like bipolar cells are there, ductal cells are there. So all these cells are somehow linked with some tissue, some organ, some specific organ, or some general cells are there. So there are also some informations are present on the basis of single cell tissues that they have started putting. That means if we are taking liver, then what are the cells are there, and in these particular cells, what is the expression of these particular proteins are there, right? So now let's go to the next one, which is pathology. So pathology is something which linked with disease, right? So now let's see whether this particular pathology, particular protein linked with which diseases. So as you can see, these particular proteins there are so many diseases there. All are mostly cancers, glioma, thyroid cancer, lung cancer, and all different kinds of cancer is there. And we can see this particular protein has been reported as a like marker protein, or a very interesting protein in thyroid cancer, as you can see, right? When we are comparing with the other cancer type. And even there are other informations are also available, even some of the protein expression based on the histopath images are also available over here, right? Now let's go to the brain. So brain is actually, we know that it's a complex organ of our body, which is having so many anatomical and anatomical regions and subregions, and out of which we can see that there are cerebral cortex, olfactory regions, so many regions are there. And what is the expression of this particular protein in different regions and subregions of brain, we can see, right? So this particular protein is actually present in the expressing maximum in the midbrain. So when we are taking the data from the human brain. So in the same way, we can see the data is available for the mouse brain also, pig brain also, and mouse brain also. So this particular data is available where they are telling that this is present in maximum in pituitary gland. So as it might happen, it is also present in pituitary gland, right? So over here, this is not present in pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is not there. That's why it is showing maximum in midbrain. But if we go down, we can see that this particular protein is actually expressing high in pituitary gland, in human, in pig, and also in mouse, right? So this is the brain proteome part. Now, if we go to the blood, so blood will already we got an idea from that particular.
So yes, I think that just gives them some pointers to start, right? Right. So this is actually really big portal to explore, and a lot of interesting things are there.
Yes,
I'm sure once people go to Human Protein Atlas, they will start playing as per their project.
Right, sir. Right.
We just want to apprise them that these resources do exist. What we also want all of you to know from this workshop is that there are many resources being made available from a lot of people's hard work, right? Like, all these are huge projects done in different places from huge government funding, huge community funding, and those are made publicly available so that everybody can make use of them. I think we just want you to guide through that these are the resources available so that you can know that you can make use of them for your own project. And these are being used for the actual research project. All the time researchers are using these tools. So that's all I think for this session right now. After this tutorial session, we had a break time, 15 minutes. That is already over. But I think we still feel that you deserve a 10 minutes break, right? So please take a break. We will meet at 4 p.m. And then from 4 p.m. till 5:10 or 5:15, we will have continuous sessions for various activities, which includes, I'm first at 4 p.m. I'm going to give you a lot of information for your many queries which you have either in chat or you have already posted me in the email. I'm going to give you a lot of updates regarding your registration, certificates, quizzes, prizes, many stuff. All right. And then, of course, we will have, so please don't ask me any more questions right on the chat. I'm just telling at 4 p.m. I'll answer all the questions. So let's meet at 4 p.m. onwards. We will close the entire summer camp. Okay. Let me thank the entire team, especially, Deep and Nirshar for conducting the session, and overall team who was involved, including Dr. Kruti and Akanksha and Vishwa, everybody who has been supportive for this particular hands-on session. A lot of work goes on in the back to prepare the files and make sure things runs on track here. So thanks to the entire team. We will catch up again in 10 minutes time. Everybody at 4 p.m. we'll meet. Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the workshop. Our next session is about to begin. May I request you to kindly mute your microphones and wait as we prepare for the session. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the workshop. Our next session is about to begin. May I request you to kindly mute your microphones and wait as we prepare for the session. Thank you.